Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kay or Kutlano. I'm from South Africa and I'm currently teaching in South Korea. If you are a returning subscriber, hey, what's up? So today we are going to be doing a Q&A. To be honest, I did not expect to have to do an entire Q&A video. Like, I didn't think that many people were curious about my life, but then I put it on social media. I put it everywhere basically because I thought I wouldn't get any questions. I put it on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and I actually got a lot of questions. So this is going to be a two-parter. The first Q&A video is going to be about just my general experience in Korea. I think that's what these questions go towards. So things like just adjustment and you know, dealing with certain things in Korean society. That's going to be the first Q&A video, and then the second Q&A video is going to deal with actual teaching. There are some very teaching specific questions. Living logistics, there are a couple, 3 or 4 questions about living logistics that I don't think quite fit this video, and then friendships, relationships, etc, etc. That's all gonna go in the second Q&A. So this Q&A is just gonna be like general experience questions, and yeah, you guys some of you guys are really deep, but yeah, I'm gonna answer. I'm going to look at my phone because all the questions are here on a memo. So let's get started, I guess. So yeah, general living in Korea, general life in Korea questions. So the first question is, how long do you plan on staying in Korea? Are you planning on staying another year? So I've renewed my contract, so I am staying another year. I initially wanted to stay 2 years at the least. Most people thought I would stay like a year and come back, even though I never said that, like, ever. But my initial plan was to stay 2 years and just see how much like money I can save and just experience the country and then decide what to do afterwards. How long do I plan to stay here? I'm not sure. Yeah. I really don't know, but I do really miss home, and at the same time, like, home is not great right now. Like, South Africa is not great right now, just in terms of corona and the economy, and like, I'm a freelancer, so I'm a little bit worried. I don't know if I would still have work if I went home. So for as long as I don't have work back home, or I don't feel like I'm gonna have work back home, I prefer working for myself. But if I did have to take a job, I would take it. But my point is that in terms of me going back and doing SESOKO media right now, it doesn't seem like a very clever decision to do, because I'm not sure if I would have clients, and so I would rather stay in Korea where I have a stable job and I have a stable income. So as for how long I'm planning to stay here, I guess it depends on corona. Before corona, it was 2 years at the least. After corona, it's like I kind of want to go home, but I kind of have to stay type of feeling. I don't know. Next question. Have you thought about other countries? If you had to choose a different country to have gone to, which one would it be? Have I thought about other countries? Yes, I have. So initially what I wanted to do was I wanted to get an artist visa. There are countries that have artist visas where you can be a freelancer like myself, or you can do like an internship with a creative company and then do freelance work on the side, that type of thing. And I think those countries were, I can't remember properly now because the research was so long ago, but I think those countries were Germany, the Netherlands, and Japan. I think, I can't really remember, but I wanted to do that initially. So that's always like on my mind, like I could go to one of those countries and, you know, maybe do like an artist visa thing there. It wouldn't be difficult for me to learn Dutch because I already know Afrikaans. German, I've heard, is pretty close to Dutch, so hopefully that wouldn't be too bad. And Japanese, I've heard, if you know Korean, it's a lot easier to learn. So those are kind of the countries that I thought about from an artistic standpoint. If I had to teach English in a different country, maybe no, I don't think I would teach English in Japan. I think Japan would be purely creative, and maybe Singapore I would teach English in. I think Singapore is a cool looking country. I think I would try to do something creative there too, but I'm not really sure how their creative industry is set up. Also, after my trip to Bali, I was like, you know, I wouldn't mind being like a digital nomad in Bali for like a year or two, but I didn't really look into like I didn't research any logistics of how that would work. So yeah, those are my countries: Germany, the Netherlands, Japan, Singapore, Bali. Those are the ones I've thought of. Why South Korea? So I can't remember who asked me this question, but yeah, if you don't know me, I was already into Korean culture. Like when I was living in SA, I was doing part-time freelancing work for the Korean embassy already, and so I was going to like all of their events basically, and that got me pretty much into Korean culture. So yeah, I chose Korea because I'm the most familiar with the culture, and I told myself like if I'm gonna move abroad, I want to move to a country where the culture resonates more with me and I know more about the culture, because then it will reduce the amount of culture shock, versus if I go to like China. I don't know anything about China. I know what I read in the news, and I think obviously I've watched a few Chinese movies, but that's it. I don't know anything about actual Chinese culture. So yeah, I chose South Korea because I knew the most about Korean culture and it resonated well with me. I'd say the country that I know kind of the second most about after Korea would be Japan. But yeah, I didn't get that heavily into Japanese culture to the point where I was like, okay, let me go to Japan type of thing. That's just kind of how my personality is. I like, as much as this is an adventure, I really like security, and so I was just like, I know something about Korea, I know some people from Korea, and so this is, you know, safe if I'm gonna do something this adventurous. How long did it take you to adapt and really be comfortable in your space? So I've said this in one of my other videos, I think the 6-month update. I'll put it up here if you want to watch it. I took a lot longer to adapt than other people, I think, than other foreigners who came with the same EPIC program that I came with. I think I took a lot longer to adapt. I was fresh out of university. I mean, I had working experience, but I had experience working for myself. And when you're your own boss, you get to be like, you know what, I'm not doing anything today, I'll deal with it tomorrow if it's not urgent, type of thing. And so having to go to work every day from 9 to 5, like I could make my own hours. Now I'm going to work every day from 9 to 5. I have very strict instructions where somebody's telling me what to do. I don't really have a lot of autonomy in the classroom because I have a co-teacher and I have to do things kind of to their style, which I like in some cases, and in other cases it doesn't really work for me. But yeah, that is what it is. So I think adjusting to the job was a lot, in the sense that it was basically my first job ever, working for someone else, and so that was really hard to adjust to, coming from being a freelance and working for myself and me being the boss in that situation, to being like a junior in a work situation. Living wise, I have lived with my parents my whole life. Like even in university, my university was really close to my house, so I lived at home. I didn't live in an apartment or raise or anything, so living alone was a huge adjustment because you know, it's like the little things. It's like when you are sick and you have to take yourself to the doctor. I mean, I used to take myself to the doctor. Did I? Actually, I didn't get sick that much in South Africa. That's another thing, but that's like a completely different topic. I didn't get that sick that much in South Africa as an adult, like who is able to drive and go places. So I haven't really thought about that much. But yeah, stuff like when you're sick and you have to take yourself to the doctor, then take yourself to the pharmacist, then eat 3 meals a day because you have to take antibiotics, and then after your antibiotics there's some weird side effect with your body, so now you must deal with that. Like stuff like that didn't happen straight away, but when it did happen, then I felt like, okay, wow, this adjusting to living alone is really difficult. Stuff like if you don't wash the dishes, no one else will. If you don't do your laundry, no one else will. If you don't cook, no one else will. If you have to feed yourself all the time and think about what you're going to feed yourself all the time. I think we take that for granted when we live with our parents, because it's like, if I don't feed myself, someone will come ask me, have you eaten? And either that will incite me to, you know, go make myself something to eat, or that person will be like, oh, I'm gonna make something, so I'll make you something. It's stuff like that that took me long to adjust to. As for actually being in Korea, I think Korea is so fast paced that you get used to things pretty quickly because you have to. So adapting to like the Korean way of life versus the South African way of life, that was pretty quick. But stuff like living alone and, you know, a new career and work structure, that took me really long to adjust to, I think. Yeah. What was the most difficult thing or challenge to get used to? How has it been for you transitioning to a new culture, food, and different environments? So food, I had already been eating Korean food back in SA. Obviously I had to expand like my menu of things that I can eat, but Korean food is generally really good, and a lot of the things that people, like Western people, think are weird that Koreans eat, South Africans eat anyway. So my neighbor's doing a lot. So stuff like chicken feet, you know, takbal and makchang, gopchang, that kind of stuff, we already eat it in South Africa, so that wasn't like a huge adjustment. Food wise, environment wise, like I said, everything in Korea is pali pali, let's do everything fast. That I lived in a suburb in South Africa, and so I'm used to everything being slow paced, and I think just my personality enjoys doing things at a slow pace. But that is not the case in Korea. So that, I think, was the most difficult thing. It was like going against myself to survive, but I'm used to it now, so it's okay. I changed. I still like doing things slowly, but I realized that doing things slowly is something that's kind of a luxury here. I already knew a lot about Korean culture before I came, so that wasn't too much of a stretch. Also, Korean culture is pretty similar to African culture, with like respecting your adults and just the way that the kind of principles that we have, so that wasn't too difficult either. Oh, I lied. The most difficult thing to get used to, I think, was being a foreigner. I know it's weird, you go to a homogenous country on purpose, you should just deal, but I think it's easier to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be the foreigner, than to actually be the foreigner. Like feeling like there are days where I don't want to wear my afro because I don't want to be stared at extra. Like, I get stared at every day, but if I'm wearing, like if I have my afro out, I just feel like people must now stare at me and be amazed at that and then stare at my hair. It's the same with braids, but I don't know, for some reason, I guess because braids go down like this, and also there are Koreans, like hip-hop artists who do braids, Koreans are kind of used to them, so the staring isn't as bad. But like with my natural hair, I sometimes, like if I was just not in the mood, I would not wear my afro out, because I feel like you're gonna stare at me, and then you're gonna stare at my hair, and then you're gonna want to touch my hair, and I don't want you to touch my hair. Don't touch me, no touchy. Okay, so I think just being other all the time, and I've mentioned it in another video where like there are days where you kind of forget, you don't like forget, but you just want to live without being a spectacle, you know what I mean? I think that was the hardest thing to adjust to, is realizing that, okay, I've lost the ability to blend in. You know, sometimes you just want to blend into society, you don't want to be different. I know different is good, but if I'm just not in the mood to go to work and I just want to go to work and go home, I don't want to be stared at during all of that. It's too much. I just want to lay low, and I can't do that because okay, next question. Have you, kind of on that note, have you experienced racism where you are? So the province where I am, Chungcheongbuk-do, is actually known for, like, the people here are known for being slower paced and nicer than like a lot of other Korean people, I guess, because further up in Korea the people are all in a hurry, and we are then like and then it like kind of transitions down, and we are the start of the countryside, and then further down is like the countryside where the more conservative people are. So because my province is kind of in the middle, we're known for being just the neutral people. Like the people here are known for being just neutral and nice and slow. And so I haven't experienced like any racism here. Like even if people are fascinated by me or whatever the case is, they'll like just kind of look at me and then that's it. I did experience xenophobia after the whole Itaewon outbreak thingy that I mentioned in my I'm not going to get into it again, but in my 1-year update I mentioned how there was an Itaewon issue and it led to a lot of xenophobia. So I've experienced xenophobia, but not necessarily racism. Like I haven't had anyone treat me badly because I'm black. I've had people be like microaggressive towards me because I'm black, but like the thing about a microaggression is that sometimes the perpetrator doesn't know that they're doing it. Like sometimes they think the things that they're saying are okay, but I'm like, that's aggressive, you know. And sometimes you can detect the tone that it's malicious, but other times genuinely this person has no idea that what they said is just problematic. So yeah, that I think would be the extent of it, but I wouldn't say blatant like racism. Yeah, I don't know if that answered the question. Okay, on a complete, now we're taking a different note. Do you prefer buying groceries and cooking or eating out? I prefer cooking. Do I cook more than I eat out? No. Why? Because 2 reasons. Number one, living alone, like I don't know, I feel like in South Africa I used to do like a lot of grocery shopping for at home, like for my parents and stuff, and so I know that in South Africa it's a little bit easier to buy things in a portion that suits your household. I don't know if that makes sense, but like if I live alone I can shop for the fact that I live alone. In Korea it's like they have this huge family mentality, and so when you go grocery shopping everything is in family portions. You want an apple, you're gonna get 8 apples. You want grapes, you're gonna get this many grapes. You want potatoes, you're not gonna get a packet of small potatoes, you have to get the big one. You want eggs, unless you go to the convenience store and get 4 eggs, you're gonna get like 12 eggs. It's just the portions don't really match with living alone here. And there are places where they do, but like for example the other day I wanted to buy a zucchini, right? I wanted to make hobakjon, so I wanted to buy a zucchini, one, because I'm one person. Also it's a side dish that I can't eat for the rest of my life, but I had to buy 2, and so I made like a whole bunch of hobakjon. Hobakjon is like you take the zucchini and then you like season egg, like you make some egg and you season it and you put like flour and egg and then you fry it in a frying pan. It's really good. But yeah, I had to buy 2 zucchinis and now I have all of this hobakjon, but like everything else is finished. So I was like, eat the hobakjon with like ketchup now, because I'm like, it's just, I have to eat it. And you know, if I had bought 1 it would have been perfect for maybe 1 or 2 servings, but now I have just this huge amount. So yeah, I don't really enjoy cooking here. Oh, there's 3 reasons. Number one, because the quantities are just awkward if you live alone, like for buying groceries. Number 2, things go bad so fast here. I have no idea why. Really, I heard a rumor that it's because Korea doesn't use like a lot of pesticides and stuff like that and chemicals in the food. I'm like, give me the pesticides if it means my food is gonna last longer. Like, you'll buy something today, by tomorrow it starts rotting. Like, it's ridiculous. So if you buy something, you should eat it today and tomorrow and then be done with it. Otherwise it's just gonna go bad like really quickly. Even like stuff like milk, guys. Yogurt, I don't know, it just goes bad so quickly. So I try to like eat at home, but it's also like if I want to eat something, I don't want to eat it for the next 5 days because it's gonna go bad, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to eat the same thing each day. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal thing. I don't mind eating the same thing, but it's also just like I don't feel like I should have to. I feel like I should be able to store food in my fridge and know that it's still gonna be fine in 2 days when I want to eat that thing again, you know what I mean? So there's that. Things go bad really quickly here. Like vegetables, fruits, milk, you name it, even bread. Like, it just gets moldy really quickly here, and goes stale really quickly. So there's that. The third reason I don't really like cooking, my apartment is tiny. I have not done an apartment tour yet. I'm still working on it because I really need to bring it upon myself to show you guys my place, because it's a one room. Like in Korea you have like one room, so it's literally one room and then like a little bit of a kitchen, a little bit of a bathroom, and a little veranda, and that's it. But yeah, I'll show you one day. But my kitchen is tiny, like tiny, and I don't enjoy standing there, and there's not even like counter space, so cooking is really awkward for me and it's uncomfortable. And then I'm in this small space, and like there's not really windows, so like the window is here, the kitchen is there, so all of the smell needs to go through my room to the window, and I get home like late afternoon, so that means like at night I must have my window open and then all of these things because the smell, and it's not enough time to let the smell go out and all of that. So it's cooking is a bit of a logistic for me. Also, it works out cheaper to eat out, and there are places that are healthier, but if you want to eat healthier, like when you're eating out, then obviously it's going to cost you a bit more. So yeah. So I do prefer cooking and eating home cooked meals, but it's not easy, and even like meal prepping and stuff is difficult because the ingredients go bad so quickly here. So you know, it is what it is. You cook when you're in the mood to cook, you cook. When you don't want to cook, you don't cook, you eat out. Somebody asked me, I'm curious about your heart and how it's feeling in general. My heart is fine right now. So I know in my 1-year update I was like, oh, we don't have corona. Yeah, so as you know, things change like this. That was literally like what, a week, 2 weeks ago that I said that. It's not the case anymore. There was some church that had like a gathering or whatever, and they had like coronavirus, like people who tested positive for coronavirus. A lot of religious groups have been spreading corona. I want to say purposefully, because some of the headlines are just ridiculous. Like the one lady was being tested and she spat on the healthcare worker. The one guy tested positive, then he escaped, then he was going all around cafes and stuff, and then people there tested positive. Like, it just sounds purposeful. Even their leader tested positive for corona. So yeah. So how my heart is doing, my heart, she's tired of corona, because now it's starting up again. And like right now, like yesterday, I was sitting literally in Starbucks, and there was an announcement that the whole country is on social distancing level 2. So it's not quite a lockdown, it just means certain rules, and like if you go to certain places and things like that. But yeah, even our school's going online from next week until the 6th of September, in hopes that the virus will calm down again. And if it doesn't, then the country has to go on level 3. I think Seoul will probably go on level 3 before us though, because Seoul is pretty dangerous. But yeah, corona is starting up again, so my heart, she's not happy. But it's okay. I'm okay personally. Do you miss home? I miss home. Do I miss South Africa per se? Not so much. Like, I love South Africa, don't get me wrong. But I don't miss South Africa per se. Like, we have a lot of problems. It's a good country, but we have a lot of problems. I miss my parents. Oh my gosh, I miss my parents. I miss my family. Yeah, I miss my friends. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so I miss home, but I don't miss home, if that makes sense. Like, I enjoy my life here, but I do miss my parents and stuff. I also miss my house, like my actual physical house. Yeah. How's your Afrikaans? Dis maar ek was al amper vlot, maar nou kan ek eers nie praat nie. My Afrikaans is, she's there but she's not there. Like the other day I tried to speak Afrikaans to my friend. She's from the south of America, like the south of North America, and she was curious about Afrikaans, and I tried to like say a sentence to her, and I was mixing Korean into it. So I was just like, wow. Yeah, I don't use Afrikaans anymore, so I think I don't have the same Afrikaans ability that I had. But if I do start studying Dutch, because I'm contemplating studying Dutch, or Chinese or Japanese, I don't know yet, but regardless, I digress. If I do start studying Dutch, I think my Afrikaans will get better again, because it's kind of, yeah. But yeah, I kan nou eers nie praat nie. Ek kan nou eers nie praat nie, dis so. It just sounds bad. Anyway, best way to keep in touch with me, I think a lot of people are confused. My WhatsApp still works, guys. Like, if you personally had me on WhatsApp, it still works. Like, no one contacts me there anymore. Okay, granted, I don't check it as much because no one contacts me on there except my parents. But yeah, if not WhatsApp, then Instagram. If you contact me on Facebook, I will probably answer you in 10 business days. Like, I know that I post on Facebook sometimes, but I don't like Facebook. Like, I'm hardly ever on it. So yeah, Instagram is the best, but I recently have been getting a lot of DMs on Instagram, so I don't know, you know, when something is 1 or 2, it's very easy to get it done and out of the way. But like when you have like 20 messages and you're just like, you don't even know where to start, who to start with, you know, people are asking you very specific things, it becomes overwhelming, and then you're like, you know what, I'm not in the mood. I'll do it later. So Instagram DMs are probably the best way, if not WhatsApp or email. But I just, on Instagram, I do get a lot of DMs, and so if I take a while to respond, don't get offended. It's not personal, it's just me being overwhelmed, and then I'm like, I'm not going to do it now because I'm overwhelmed. So yeah. Otherwise, if you're in Korea or you're interested in Korean stuff, Kakao Talk. I answer my Kakao Talk all the time because no one talks to me on there except my friends here. So it's very easy for me to answer because I don't really get overwhelmed by it yet. Yeah. Otherwise, send a pigeon and then hopefully it'll get to me at some point. On to the next. Biggest culture shock, biggest cultural similarity, biggest culture shock, homogenous society, living in a homogenous society coming from a diverse society. I wouldn't say it was a shock. Like when someone says culture shock, I think it's like something that I saw and then I got really shocked and then it like stayed with me for a few days. It's just something. At first it didn't bother me because I think I was still getting used to stuff here, but now that I live here and I feel like I'm, what's the word, assimilated kind of into the society, like assimilated in the sense of like I'm not a newbie who needs help with everything anymore, and I want to blend in because I know how to do everything, you know. I don't want to have the huge sign that says I'm a foreigner, please help me on it. I think the biggest culture shock after that was just not, even after being used to everything, not being able to blend in. Like still when I leave my apartment today, I've been here for a year, people are still gonna look at me like, oh wow. No one actually does that, I'm exaggerating, but like they're still gonna look at me like, you know, and I'm just trying to go do a thing that I'm now used to doing, type of thing. So I think that would be the biggest culture shock, although it's not really a culture shock. There's a second one. The biggest culture shock for me is, I'm not trying to diss anyone, I'm not trying to be controversial, I think it's Koreans' lack of accountability. Because like how can you just be okay with the fact that, like for example, if you're ignorant about something and somebody tries to educate you and then you pin it, like you somehow manage to flip it on them. Like there was a huge thing with Sam Okere lately. I'm not gonna get it, Sam Ochiri, I never know how to actually say his name, I'm sorry. Lately, I'm not going to get into that either, but like they somehow made him the person who was wrong, but they were wrong. Like I was just like, whoa. Sometimes they lack accountability and it's shocking. That's all I have to say about that. I don't want to say all of them, I know it's not all of them, I have friends who are great, but just a lot of them have this mentality and I'm shocked. Yes, okay. Once again, not everyone. Biggest cultural similarity, respect for elders, I guess. Yeah. I think so. Just for me personally, I think that's the biggest cultural similarity. Has the staring decreased? I don't think it ever decreases. Staring doesn't decrease. I think you become what's the word, desensitized to it. I think when I go out in the street, I don't look at people as much as I used to before, so I don't notice them looking at me. Or if they look at me, I'm just like, whatever. Or, you know, I just put my head down, or I look down, or I don't know. I don't think it decreases, but I do think you become desensitized to it, or you just pay less attention to it. I think in the beginning you pay more attention to it because you're like, oh, why is this person looking at me? Are they fascinated? What's going, you know? Now you're just used to it, so you're just like, they're looking at me. So what? Any plans to move back to South Africa, or are you keen on immigration? I wouldn't mind immigration. I just don't know which country I would immigrate to, and also I just don't want to immigrate to a country knowing that I have parents in South Africa. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So like, maybe if I was older and I had my own family and everything, and we were all going together, that would make sense to me. But I don't know if I would do it now. Like, fully immigrate to a different country. Like, living there I can see, you know, but like immigrating, like, that's so hectic. There's so much connotation to that. So I'm not really sure if I would immigrate. I think after experiencing the standard of living that I have in Korea, like the safety and all of that, I think it's going to be very difficult for me to move back to South Africa, especially because South Africa gave me a lot of anxiety and I was very paranoid. Like, I had a lot of paranoia, and so I don't think it would be easy for me to fully live in South Africa again. I think even if I tried, maybe after a while I would feel some type of way. So yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, actually. Like I said, Corona is making things very vague. Like, even if you plan, you don't know how you're going to be able to execute your plans and when. So yeah, I think we're gonna wait out Miss Rona a little bit before we start thinking about things like that. And also just seeing, like, it's also dependent on like work and your personal life and stuff like that. So I think it's a very interesting question. I'll think about it and probably not get back to you, because I probably will not come up with the answer anytime soon. But thank you for asking. That was a very interesting question. And then last question for this video. Wow, it's going to be so long. I've been recording forever. How to flourish in an Asian society as a black person who grew up in a Western society. Growing up in a Western society means I have very Western thoughts. Asian thoughts are almost opposite to Western thoughts, or just what we would consider conservative type thoughts. And so already just on that front, like, as a foreigner, a lot of things are like, you don't necessarily agree with them, but you accept that that's the way of life here and stuff like that. As for how to flourish as a black person in an Asian society, I think confidence. I think as a black person in an Asian society, confidence is everything, because already there are things that Asian people, when they look at foreigners, they categorize us. You know, not all of them think that, but largely that's what a lot of them think. And the reason is because a lot of them have like I hate to say it, but it's kind of true, and I've heard this on multiple occasions, read it on multiple occasions, that Asians have like, they want to be like white people in the sense that they want to be paler, they want to have, you know, the features they have on their face, like even the way that they treat like a white person versus a black person in Korea. You know, it's just a lot easier to be a white foreigner in Korea than it is to be a black foreigner in Korea. And so I think when things like that happen, it happens anywhere where there's racism or xenophobia. Confidence is important. Confidence in yourself, knowing who you are, never forgetting who you are, and never forgetting that even if somebody tells you you're not worthy, you are worthy, and you are valuable, and you are precious, and, you know, people are gonna have their thoughts. And also keep in mind, this is years of indoctrination for them as well, that, you know, you are pretty if you have these features, if you have this skin, if you have this weight, if you know what I mean. This is years of indoctrination for them as well, so it's not going to be easy for them to change that. I'm not saying it's okay, because it's not, but yeah, just keep things like that in mind. And you know, yeah, I think just self-love and loving yourself is the key to thriving in the society. Like, I would say stuff like, you know, adapting to the culture, learning about the culture. But even if there's me speaking Korean, you know, fluently, and then there's like a white person next to me who's barely speaking any Korean, they tend to be more impressed with the white person. It just is what it is. Like, it's like I said, years of indoctrination that like white people are better. And so yeah, that's all I would really say. I mean, it's kind of the same as anyway. It's just, as black people, I think we always have this burden that we need to love ourselves extra for all of the love we don't get from other people. So yeah, I think it's just not taking things too hard, and also just remembering that you were built differently, and the way that you were built is also beautiful inside and out, you know. But yeah, I think just self-love and having like a really high sense of self-worth and accepting that you're different and embracing that you're different, and yeah, not taking it personally when someone chooses other people over you. But yeah, I think, I don't know if I really answered your question, but that's what I would say. So yeah, that has been the first part of the Q&A, guys. I still have so many questions left for the second one, so yeah. That was just about general life in Korea. If you have any more questions, please go easy on me. But if you have any more questions, please leave them down in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, or if you have just any opinions on anything I said, leave it in the comments down below. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when I'm posting, and I will see you in part 2 of this Q&A. That was 3 fingers. I meant to do this, but let's just do that because okay, part 2 of this Q&A, where I'll be talking about teaching, living logistics, and relationships, well, and friendships and stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.